The Imps overcame Portsmouth and extended their lead at the top of the League One table. Things don't get any easier this afternoon, though. It's Doncaster Rovers at the LNER Stadium on Matchday Live. Hello there, good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Lincoln City's pre-match show Matchday Live, building up to today's massive game against Doncaster Rovers at the LNER Stadium. What a show we've got lined up for you this afternoon. Of course, we'll be looking back on that huge win against Portsmouth earlier on in the week. We'll be speaking to a Lincoln City legend later on in the show as well. And of course, all the build-up to that Doncaster game at the LNER Stadium. Team news with you right bang on 2 o'clock this afternoon. If all that isn't enough for you this afternoon, we've got some big news at 1:45. Stay with us to find out exactly what that news is. Today's topic of conversation is first goal scorer. I want to know who you think's going to be the first man to get on the score sheet for the Imps this afternoon. Let us know, and I'll do my best to read those comments throughout the show. Gary Hutchinson, as ever, joins me on the show. Gary, great to see you. The weeks a little bit easier, aren't they, when the Imps are top of the league?
The weeks are a lot easier. I was incredibly nervous going into the Portsmouth game. And when I woke up Wednesday morning, it felt not like a weight had been lifted, but it just feels nice, doesn't it? A Lincoln City win gets the endorphins pumping.
Yeah, absolutely. With that in mind then, Gary, does that make today's game more pressurising? You know, yet again, even more people are starting to talk about City now, aren't they? They only have to look at the League One table to see just what a good side this is. There's a bit of pressure on them to win this afternoon.
Yeah, it's a huge game. It's arguably the biggest game in League One. If both of these sides won every game between now and the end of the season, it would be level on points. So if somebody wins today, it's a huge advantage. It's primed to be a fantastic game. I'm not quite as nervous. I don't know why. I don't feel quite the same sort of jittery feeling in my stomach, but that doesn't mean that it's not a huge game and another tough encounter for City.
Yeah, well, certainly let's hope that that's a good thing, Gary. The good news keeps on coming, isn't it? George Grant has signed a new contract with the Imps. Huge news for Lincoln City this week. Club confirming it on Twitter yesterday. I caught it with George yesterday. This is what he had to say.
Brand new contract. Congratulations. How are you feeling?
Yeah, obviously delighted. It's been spoke about for quite a while now, so delighted to get it over the line. Obviously, delighted to be here for another 2.5 seasons.
What is it about Lincoln City then that made you think, I want to commit my future to the club? I want to carry on playing for Lincoln City and see how far I can go with them?
Well, obviously the ambition of the club. I think we both share the same ambition that we want to be a championship team, and that was a main factor for me. I know obviously the fans are going to be very happy about this one, and I'm delighted to be here for much longer. So yeah, it's really the ambition, the gaffer, the way we've been playing, sort of the structure of the club is really good at the moment. I'm delighted to be a part of that.
Tough times all round, isn't it, for everyone with COVID-19 and everything that's come along with that. But the relationship between the club, yourself as well, and the fans seems to be stronger than ever, despite the fact that the fans can't go to the LNER Stadium at the moment. Is that true for you, would you say? And if so, why?
Yeah, I think it's just as good, if not better. Obviously, we'd be delighted to have them back in the stadium. That would be what we really want, and hopefully we can get to that point at some point in the near future. But yeah, we're all on the same page, I think, and we're all backing each other, and the club and the fans will all seem to be moving in the right direction. Everything's quite positive, and hopefully it continues.
When you look back at your time here so far, which moments stand out for you? I can think of a few off the top of my head, but just interested to see which ones for you are the key ones.
I think the first home game, who did we play? Aki, I think that was the moment where I saw how amazing the fans were. That was one of the main ones. Peterborough at home, obviously the free kick last minute. That was a big one. So yeah, probably those two stick out in my memory the most. Just the fans being there and how good they were, and yeah, hopefully we can have them back soon.
Forest Green as well. Wigan free kick was a massive one, all things considered.
Yeah, Wigan was a big one. Obviously, the free kick to get us back in the game, and I think we really kicked on in that game. Actually, straight after that, really, as soon as that went in, it sort of the mindset just changed when we went on and won that. So yeah, there's been a lot of good ones, a lot of good memories so far.
Yeah, great to catch up with George Grant yesterday afternoon, signing a new deal with the Imps. And Gary, I mean, we talk about new signings. That just feels like a new signing, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Biggest news of the transfer window so far, without a doubt. No disrespect to Morgan Rogers, but George Grant is part of the club's future, not the next 6 months, but now the next 2.5 years. He's been exceptional this season. You know, we've seen him grow and develop from kind of a flair player you're not quite sure whether you can afford to have in the squad, to an absolute first team regular who, you know, he may as well write his own name on the team sheet. So it's massive news. It's also big for the stature of the club as well, because in the past, how many times have we got to a point where a big player's contract runs down and you almost know they're going to go? Just shows a complete switch around in the culture of the club.
Yeah, definitely. Gary, there was clearly a lot of interest in George Grant throughout this window. It didn't seem, having spoken to him, that it was a particularly difficult decision for him to make in the end. He seems so settled here. He seems to really trust the process.
Yeah, I spoke to him just before Christmas for the club programme, and he didn't sound like a player that wanted to leave. He sounded like a player that had got ambition, absolutely no doubt about that. But it felt like he was settled here. And I think sometimes when you're a young player and you've gone out and you've had a few loan spells, you get to be a bit of a nomad. And in order to really kick on, you need to sort of put down some roots, because without roots, you don't grow. And I think we've seen that. He knows he's grown as a player. He knows that we've got the potential to go much further than we are, which sounds ridiculous when we're top of League One anyway. And so he's put his faith in us as well. And I think he's only going to get better for us.
Comments absolutely flying in this afternoon. Alex Webber says, fantastic news that George has signed a new deal. Hopefully players like Scully and McGrandles will follow. Steve O'Dare says, when you're top of the league in such a tight season, every game is a huge one. Loving this pressure, would rather have this than the pressure of being in the relegation zone. Great to hear from Steve. And Kay Jackson says, morning guys, hope you're both well. Today is a massive game given Donny's games in hand, but if we play like we did against Sour Grapes Pompey, we'll be fine. Nice to hear from you as ever, Kate. Talking of Portsmouth, Gary, let's have a look back at that game then, because it was just yet another a huge win, but it was all about staying calm. Brilliant start to the game here, wasn't it?
Yeah, the old saying goes it was a game of two halves, but this one wasn't. It was a game of half an hour and then an hour, because they were very different. We started the game very, very well. We created the better chances, without a doubt. I thought that we were on top, but it could have gone either way. I just felt that this incident in particular obviously did change the game, but it wasn't necessarily the banker that you would think it is when a player goes down to 10 men, because they then went defensive. We had to break them down, and we were still facing 8-9 players in front of us. They just didn't have the same attacking intent. So we had to adapt very, very quickly. We did. I thought we were probably unlucky not to get a goal just before half time. I think this is the Conor McGrandles header, which, you know, he's done more or less everything right. But we stuck to our game plan, and eventually things came good for us.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it, Gary? It is about sticking to the game plan. It's about not panicking. You know, we talk about pressure. We've already mentioned that term about 3 or 4 times on the show. But when you go down to 10 men, or playing against 10 men in this case, you're expected to win. And essentially that is what we did, plain and simple.
Yeah, exactly. You are expected to win, and it isn't always that easy. I remember a game against Oldham a couple of years ago where they went down to 10 men on half time, and we ended up drawing the game. And, you know, Pete, the Knives were out saying we should beat 10 men. Not if that 10 men are organised and resilient and know how to close down the space. So we had to find the keys to unlock the door. And eventually, obviously, that was Morgan Rogers. He came on. He injected some fresh pace up front. He was unlucky not to set a goal up for McGrandles. He was unlucky not to get a penalty. But then we worked a great goal, which we'll look at in a little bit more detail in a second. And I think it was just reward for our efforts.
Yeah, it certainly was. Like you said, we're going to look at it in more detail. But what a moment for Morgan Rogers.
Fantastic. Yeah, these young players know now they come to Lincoln City, they'll be given chances to score. They'll be given chances in the first team. And any young player, even at Premier League level, that's what they need, senior football. Your Harry Kane's, Jermaine Defoe's, they all went out on loan in the lower league. And if you get a reputation as a club that helps them develop, then they're going to choose us over other teams. And that'll only work well for us in the future.
Absolutely, Gary. For those of you that missed Tuesday night's Matchday live show, you will have missed the fact that we've gone full Sky Sports. We've got some tactics to bring in, myself and Gary Hutchinson, not exactly Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville just yet, but we're giving it our best go. Gary, let's have a look at the goal from one tactical perspective. You were particularly impressed here with TJ Ioma's movement. We'll come on to Conor McGrandles shortly.
Yeah, we worked the flanks really well, and I think when a team has a man sent off, they tend to go compact in the middle. So we had to find a way through the sides. And again, we picked on Ioma last weekend after the last game. We've done the same again here. He's got into a great position, and initially the attack was coming down the left-hand channel. So he's shown the awareness to get in there, deliver a great cross, and from there we can go on and obviously score the goal.
Yeah, and McGrandles was obviously the man that set it up. So if we give you a slightly different perspective here, we've highlighted Conor McGrandles. This is Fratton Park, or a Fratton Park lookalike, and yeah, Conor McGrandles, just brilliant movement on the left-hand flank.
Yeah, again, not naturally a left winger, but when Rodgers has come in with the ball, remember, he's created the move. McGrandles is the man that then comes in off the left flank, expecting to arrive where Scully would perhaps arrive. Now, what he does when you watch his run, he doesn't make a run towards the ball to try and score. What he's thinking is, if this comes all the way across, where do I need to be to recycle the attack and just start it again? And that's why he's taken up the position that he has, because when the ball comes to it, it's not a goal-scoring position. So really, really clever from Conor McGrandles, who I thought was absolutely excellent from start to finish on Tuesday night. Yeah,
I mean, he's the unsung hero, isn't he? You can see the difference that he makes to the side when he comes in, and there seems to be some comparisons drawn with Joe Morrell from last season. Is that a fair one for you?
Yeah, I can see where people make that. I think Connor's a little bit different. I mean, they're certainly very box to box. I think Morrell probably ended up with more opportunities to score, but obviously McGrandles has now scored more because I don't think Joe got one. There are similarities, but Connor's a little bit better in the air. He showed on both touchlines. He's back clearing off the line 1 minute. He's had our best chance of the game. He's had probably our second best chance of the game, and he's created the goal. It might have taken him a little bit longer to settle in as well. He didn't stick out as a star man in the early part of the season, but he stuck out as a workhorse. And in terms of his work rate, he's very similar to Joe Morrell. He just never stops.
And if we have a look at the League One table, Gary, I think it's now 7 points, isn't it, between the Imps and Portsmouth? It makes for fantastic reading.
Yeah, I can't get enough of that. I'd have it imprinted on the inside of my eyelid so I could see it when I went to sleep. We're in a great position. Look, I know earlier I said if us and Doncaster both won all our games, we can't. We play today. That's the point I'm making. We win today, and then our fate's in our own hands. Yes, that's crazy. We're not going to win 22 games. None of the other teams are either. But to go into the second half of the season and not be a flash in the pan, not have been on a good run, not have just played some of the teams that are lower, but have more or less played everybody and proven that at the halfway stage we're the best team in League One is beyond anybody's wildest dreams. We've now got 23 games to go on, and for these players to write their name in Lincoln City history.
Really enjoyed Michael Appleton's post-match interview with Rob Makepeace on BBC Radio Lincolnshire. Michael seemed completely at ease. He was obviously, delighted with the 3 points against a very good Portsmouth side, but he seems to be really enjoying this promotion campaign.
What manager wouldn't, and what manager with a point to prove wouldn't as well. Did well at Oxford, but people still tarnish him with his stints at Portsmouth, at Blackpool and at Blackburn, and they shouldn't. He's already shaken that, in my opinion. But he puts an awful lot of hard work in, and when anybody stands back and looks at the masterpiece they're creating, and he looks as good as we do now, then they have every right to be happy. And a word to the coaching team, Steve Crowdson, Richard O'Donnell, Dave Kerslake, the rest of the boys behind the scenes as well. Our players are in great physical condition, great mental condition, and they're incredibly well drilled on the field. It's a team effort from top to bottom, and we're really reaping the rewards.
Absolutely. Right. We promised you big news at 1:45. It is just about 1:45 there or thereabouts. So let me introduce you to Lincoln City's newest signing.
Hi Imps, Regan Poole here. Delighted to join the club. Can't wait to get started. See you all soon.
Yes, Lincoln City announcing the signing of Regan Poole on a permanent deal. Brilliant news for Lincoln City. He's a former Manchester United defender, no less. Joined the club on a long-term deal, like I mentioned before. He's joined from MK Dons, a Welsh under-21 international as well. This is a player with some serious pedigree. He's a right-back as well, can play centre-back as well. We'll be speaking to Regan very shortly. But first of all, Gary Hutchinson, your initial reaction to that?
I'll be honest, I was absolutely gobsmacked when I heard that we were going to sign Regan Poole. He's a player that I've followed since his time at Newport. He's been a strong player for MK Dons as well. He's young, he's ambitious. He's a perfect Michael Appleton player, and he can carry the ball confidently. It's just such a big statement of intent to go and take a key player from another League One side who's got a massive, massive future ahead of him.
Well, let's bring him in then. Regan Poole joins us live from the LNER Stadium. That was some build-up from Gary Hutchinson. Regan, I can tell you the comments are absolutely flying in already. Wow, 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 says Chris. Yes, get in there, says Dan. Limbs, says Niall as well. Luke Hendry says you're one of his FIFA regulars. Great to see you. How are you feeling?
Yeah, delighted. Absolutely delighted.
Yeah, I mean, some build-up there from Gary Hutchinson as well. I mean, just give us an idea of what it means to you to be joining the club, because clearly, from our perspective, we're delighted to have you.
Yeah, definitely. It was a project that was so interesting, and so it was just something that I wanted to get stuck into. As soon as I heard of the interest, it was something that I wanted to get over the line. The guys are doing so well. It seems like such a great group of lads, such a young, ambitious group of lads. And it was something, soon as I heard about it, it was something that I just wanted to get stuck into and something that I wanted to be a part of.
Yeah, one of our comments, Regan, says that Poole's an exciting prospect. Saw him at the United under-23 level a few times and is very solid. Just tell us about your time at Manchester United.
Yeah, I think I spent four great years there. I learned so much. I went there at such a young age as a young boy, and I turned into a man there really. And I had such great experiences with the first team, with the 23s, and it's something that I look back on with great pride really, to be able to put on the Manchester United jersey. Is something for me and my family, and something I look back on in my career was so proud.
I believe you've been part of the Welsh senior setup as well, but you're an under-21 international. You've played with the likes of Brennan Johnson, Joe Morrell previously as well. Have you had a chance to speak to them before making the move?
I haven't. I know a couple of lads already. I know Joe Walsh, Conor McGrandles, Bren, Aaron Lewis, of course. Yeah, I know a couple of them. So, as I said, that always helps when you're going into a new dressing room. But, it just shows, how such of a young side it is for me to be playing alongside teams that, players that I've played with under-21s with, is doing so well for you guys. So, it was something that, is a look forward to, and I can't wait to get playing with him again.
And you've had a chance to see the LNER Stadium a couple of times previously. You were here against us for MK Dons, Tuesday night game, 1-1 at the time. What did you make of the atmosphere? Because the 617 squadron and the rest of the fans at the LNER Stadium make some serious noise.
Yeah, that was such an impact of me signing as well. It was I played here a few times, and I can always remember the atmosphere being so good, and always putting pressure on the opponents, and getting the other guys over the line. So it's every time I've played here, I've always come off thinking, wow, what a great atmosphere. It was always bouncing. So that was such a huge part. To have such a great fan base, such loyal supporters. I just can't wait to get started, and can't wait for them to be back in the stands so I can start playing in front of them.
We're trying not to get carried away, Regan, but it's tough looking at the League One table at the moment, because it makes for great reading. I know you had a chance to see it before. I guess the big question is, are you ready for a promotion push?
Yeah, as I said, as soon as the interest came about, it was something that I wanted to get over the line and wanted to get done. Looking at the league table, I don't think it's any surprise to me with the team that you got, the squad that you got. It's no surprise why we're sitting first in the league. We've been on such a good run, and as I said, it was something that a project in the long term that with such a young team, and it was just something that I wanted to be a part of. And as I said, it's no surprise why we're sitting first in the league.
And you've obviously had some good conversations with Michael Appleton as well.
Yeah, it was, as I said, I knew of the interest quite early on in the window, but it was, it dragged out a little bit longer than was expected. And as I said, he explained, the project and the long-term plans of the football club, and, the training ground that's just been built. It's all so exciting news, and, it's something, as I said, I wanted to be a part of, and I just can't wait to hit the ground running.
Just finally then, Regan, because we don't want to keep you too long. I'm sure we'll be speaking to you throughout the course of the season as well. Massive game today against Doncaster Rovers. Yeah,
looking forward to watching it. I stayed there last night so I could be at the game today. So I look forward to seeing the lads. Hopefully we can get 3 points.
Absolutely. Well, great to have you on the show, and look forward to catching up with you throughout the course of the season.
Thank you.
That's New Lincoln City signing Regan Poole, and judging by the comments on Facebook and Twitter, fans are absolutely delighted with that one. Plenty more reaction throughout the course of the day on social media, so do stay across that. Gary, I'll bring you back in. Speaks really well, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he just sounds like a player with ambition. Obviously, the club's been sold to him. He's played here before. in front of a great atmosphere as well. And we're lucky to have him, but we're a great club for a young player to come into. He will have seen that. We talk about it every week on the show as well. Dare I say, a match made in heaven. And in terms of long-term development, what we've got here is a 22-year-old on the verge of international honours with one of the home nations. He may have played a couple of minutes of Europa League football. I mean, it's this is Lincoln City Mark II. We talk about where we've come from, and this is where we've come from since winning the League Two title. It's a different world now for us.
Yeah, I mentioned it before that he can play at right back, but also at centre back as well. Just give us an idea. I know you've written about him a few times, exactly what sort of positionally he can offer.
Yeah, so I'd liken him quite a bit to TJ Ioma in that he's comfortable at right back, he's comfortable at right central defence. He's also very good at wing back as well, and I seem to think he gave Theo Eden a little bit of a rough ride. I think it was Eden, might have been Rowan, at their place earlier in the season. So he's got a bit of pace about him, he can deliver a cross. I think with MK, they're quite stoic in the way that they play, so versatility hasn't always worked in his favour. I read a news article at the turn of the year where they were sort of saying that he needed to nail down one position. That's not the case with this Lincoln City side. You can get a good run in the team playing in 2 or 3 different positions, so we'll suit him in that respect. He does like to carry the ball forward. He's a very progressive player. Again, similar to Ioma in that respect. He's certainly comfortable on the ball. He'll be a rampaging fullback, but he's very good defensively as well. So he's somebody that slots in perfectly. And in the long term, I'm not saying in the short term straight away, but in the long term, he'll be the TJ Ioma replacement, I think.
Said a few times, didn't he, that as soon as the interest came up, which by the sounds of it was pretty much at the start of January, he wanted to come. There was almost no persuading there. And I guess it was just a case of looking at the league table, watching some of the football that's been played, putting the pieces in the jigsaw and seeing that the noise that the fans make at the LNER Stadium when he's been to visit a few times. And by the sounds of it, it was a fairly easy decision in the end.
Yeah, I think we're a relatively easy sell these days because once upon a time Lincoln was it was at the backwater. You had to come down all sorts of roads to get here, and it would be a pain. We're quite quick to get to now from anywhere in the country. As a club, we're developing. We've got a great training ground. We've got good staff as we keep talking. If Regan Paul's got an idea of playing for Wales international side, he only has to look at Brennan Johnson and Joe Morrell to realise that we're a springboard to do that as well. So it's almost like a perfect storm. And then he talks to some of the players that we have here, and obviously here's all about how we're doing, what goes on behind the scenes, because there's a lot that us fans and pundits don't know that will help sell a club to a player, just attitudes and culture. And then finally, if you need any other persuading at all, just have a look at the league table.
Yeah, comments still flying in for this one. Enjoyed Dan White's comment, actually. He says, wonder if Sir Clive is talking to Netflix about a documentary. It would be a great story. Can't say I've heard that, but you might have to ask Clive Nates himself whether he's potentially talking to Netflix about a documentary. Yes, it would make for great viewing indeed. Steve O'Dare says, very clever signing for me. With TJ being on loan to us, it would appear that we have a made replacement for him now. Easy for me to say. Great to have your comments come flying in on this one. Team News coming to you live just after 2:00 this afternoon. We'll be speaking to a Lincoln City legend around about 2:10 as well. So do stay tuned for that one. Gary, in terms of today's game, Doncaster Rovers, they're going great guns, aren't they? Doing really well in the league, and they're certainly promotion rivals.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really important not to lose that focus. We've had 2 phenomenal bits of news now in the space of 24 hours, a little bit under. But there's a big game today, and we can round off a perfect 24 hours with a positive result. I said, I think at the top of these 3 games, Northampton, Portsmouth and Doncaster, if we took 7 points from those games, I would consider as serious title challenges. I still stand by that. I think if we were to take a draw from today's game, it would be a decent result. I think we went there earlier in the season. They were the only team, in my opinion, that validly beat us rather than us contributing to beat ourselves. When you look at Shrewsbury and you look at Bristol Rovers, there were games we should have won and didn't. When you look at Portsmouth and Sunderland, there was weakened sides and errors. This was the first game where I felt we played our game, we had our approach sorted, and they matched it. They were very good tactically. They stifled us. They stopped us getting the ball and playing it from deep. Since then, we have developed quite significantly. I think we're much better now at playing in when we're pressed hard. The other key factor was Liam Bridcut didn't start this game. Ben Whiteman did. Ben Whiteman has now left. Liam Bridcut, you would expect, would start today, so that might just swing it in our favour.
By the way, what a goal that was. I mean, we mentioned last week, didn't we, about seeing away goals against the Imps, and that bicycle kick that the Northampton player scored was something. But that was, if you're going to lose a goal to a game, it's going to be one like that, isn't it?
Yep, super goal, Ben Whiteman. That's why he's earned his move to the Championship. That's why he's stepped up a level. And that's what Doncaster now need to replace. They do have some other very good players, though. Matt Smith, I think, on loan from Manchester City, impressed me. John Taylor's got some real pace on one flank. They've got a lad up front who played for Shrewsbury, whose name doesn't escape me, but I can't pronounce, who has scored 7 or 8 goals for them, and he's got lots of pace as well. There's new signings that they could potentially bring in. John Bostock has gone there. They signed a boy on loan from Celtic earlier today. They've got Omar Bogle just joined as well. It might be that they're in transition, and again, it might be a good time to play them.
Don't know how you managed to stay across it all, Gary. You've clearly got more than 24 hours in your days. I
do need more than 24 hours in my day, but it's a lot happens in January. You have to stay abreast of it, and Doncaster are one side. They've been affected by injuries because they had Tyrese John-Jules and Rayhan Tulloch on loan from Arsenal and Villa respectively. Both very, very good players for this level who haven't really got a run. Think Callum Morton for us, well, they've had that twice over. So they've had to react a little bit more in this transfer window, I think.
We don't even need to speak to a Doncaster Rovers fan later on in the show, do we? You mentioned Liam Bridcut there. Give us an idea of the impact that he's had when he's come back into the side, because, of course, we were without him for around about a month or so. And, it showed, didn't it?
It did. If you look back at the last 6 fixtures that Lincoln City have lost, Liam Bridcut has missed every single one of them. I think the only league game he's played in that we've lost was Bristol Rovers, and the only other game he's played in that we've lost, league or cup, was Liverpool, which I think we can be forgiven. And people probably don't always understand that, because he does misplace the odd pass, because he makes a lot more than everybody else, because he's the pivot around which we play. He's hugely important to this side. He's hugely important in terms of vocal on the pitch. Again, something we don't always see, but we've got a young squad. And if they turn around and they see Liam Bridcut stood next to them in the trenches, that's a big, big difference. And I also think probably because we then take George Grant out of an attacking position when Liam Bridcut doesn't play, makes us a little less potent going forward. So massively, massively important. And I'm sure that he's fit and raring to go today.
Well, that was going to be my next point, Gary, that it does free up George Grant, doesn't it? Part of my interview with him yesterday was talking to him about his development as a midfielder. And he said himself that he feels like a more complete, more all-round midfielder. But essentially what he is best at is attacking, or picking the ball up deep and running forward with it like he did against Portsmouth, getting into the box late and obviously helping with the goal. So when Liam's back in, it helps with that.
It does. And I think when you've got a player like Grant who is complete now, it means that he's able, if he spots a gap, to drop into, let's say, a position that Bridcut has vacated and then perform that role well. He can play there for 90 minutes if we need to. But in actual fact, our first choice midfield will be Liam Bridcut sat in front of the back four, and then it will be George Grant in a more attacking position. But because they have more awareness of what each other's jobs are, we then look better if we do get pulled a little bit to one side. We see it at the back sometimes. Because we play out from the back, we'll see a defender, Monsma, Walsh, perhaps even Aoma, stride out from the back with the ball. Watch Liam Bridcut, because what he then does more often than not is just hang back a little bit. If he knows that gap's there, he fills in. George Grant is getting that in his game as well. I think that's something that he's developed in over the last couple of years, 6 months, maybe over the last year. But again, it's horses for courses, and you really do want your key players in their best positions if fit and able.
Brian Rundle says Bridders does the ugly side of the game so well, reads the game and breaks up play when needed, a real battler. You're getting your score predictions in thick and fast. Lee says 2-0 home win. Simon Chanter said the Imps says 3-2 Imps win today. Grant with the winner. And Jacob says, I'm so happy for the new signing for the Imps. Yeah, Regan Paul joining the club permanently. Caught up with Regan earlier. Brilliant talker. Delighted to be here. And judging by your reaction on Facebook, delighted to have him here as well. Right, it is 2:00, which means one thing and one thing only. Alan Long can bring us today's Lincoln City team news.
Yeah, hi Sam. Thanks for the show so far, and welcome to the home dugout where I am today. It's a bit of a cold, chilly day, but I've got the teams here in front of me, and I can tell you straight away that there's one change. Morgan Rogers comes in for Anthony Scully, who drops to the bench. So the Lincoln City lineup is: number 1, Alex Palmer. At 5 is Adam Jackson. number 7 Theo Eden, Tom Hoppers at number 9, number 10 George Grant, 16 Joe Walsh, 18 Conor McGrandles, 20 Brendan Johnson, TJ Ioma is at 22, 23 Liam Bridcut, and number 27 is Morgan Rogers. On the bench for the Imps today, number 31 Sam Long, number 3 Max Melbourne, number 4 Lewis Montsma, number 8 James Jones, number 11 Anthony Scully, and 26 Harry Anderson. So quickly run through that starting lineup again. Alex Palmer, Adam Jackson, Theo Eden, Tom Hopper, George Grant, Joe Walsh, Conor McGrandles, Brendan Johnson, TJ Ioma, Liam Bridcott, and Morgan Rogers. Okay, from the chilly LNER Stadium, back to you in the nice warm studio.
Thanks, Al. Yeah, so it's one change that Michael Appleton makes from the side that beat Portsmouth on Tuesday night. And Morgan Rogers, the goal-scoring hero, comes into the starting 11. Anthony Scully on the bench this afternoon. Lewis Montsma also on the bench. Gary, your initial thoughts to Rogers starting?
It's a big call. It's one that I think I probably would have made myself. It's no disrespect to Anthony Scully, because this sees Rogers and Johnson on either flank, one would imagine. Remember against Peterborough, I think Johnson started in attacking midfield. But we've got a full first choice midfield there. So to have the likes of Rogers with his pace and his direct running, which we know that he's got in abundance on either flank, it's probably going more like for like against Doncaster. He'll be brimming with confidence after that first goal as well. So let's hope that it pays off.
From a positional aspect then, Gary, what are you expecting this afternoon with Morgan, Brennan in the side, obviously George Grant as well?
I would fully expect it to be Morgan on the left, Brendan Johnson on the right, and obviously Tom through the middle with George Grant and Conor McGrandles, the two in midfield. So very much a normal midfield for us, with one which works really well. I mean, Conor McGrandles was superb against Portsmouth. Obviously, they're keeping James Jones out of the side, so you've got a first-team regular there knocking on the door, waiting to get in. Anthony Scully, he scored, 10 goals for us this season. He's been in great form. Don't think he had a bad game against Portsmouth either. But Michael's probably just identified that this is a game where a little bit more pace, a little bit more guile, dare I say, will do well in the early stages. Absolutely no doubt that we'll see Anthony Scully 65, 70 minutes though. And what a prospect he'll be from the bench.
Ryan Whelan says, love Alan's enthusiasm still, even with an empty stadium. Absolutely. Club legend Alan Long. And we can see pictures at the LNER Stadium right now as well. We all wish we were there, don't we? Let's bring them in and have a look at them. There is the LNER Stadium looking resplendent as ever. Teams will be out to warm up very soon as well. Remember, Regan Poole has joined, but he's not in the squad today. He'll be watching from the sidelines. Lewis Montsma once again back in the squad. Of course, he was injured a week or so ago, but he's back in. And Gary, Adam Jackson, Joe Walsh played really well the other night, so Lewis is now going to be having to fight his way back into the starting 11.
Yeah, he will. And you would have thought that perhaps he might be a shoo-in, but that would be really harsh. I mean, I thought Adam Jackson and Joe Walsh did very well over the last two encounters. They were very good against Northampton. I mean, Joe Walsh is some footballer. I think another one that's probably highly underrated. So comfortable in carrying it out. I see Adam Jackson a bit more as the kind of the hod carrier, the dirty work. But again, a very, very good defender. Reminds me a little bit of Paul Morgan, who used to be here, and Lewis is going to have to wait his turn. And I think that's a mark of a great squad when two players like James Jones and Lewis Montsma, who didn't do anything wrong, they were out of the side through injury, COVID, whatever. They're not just automatically given their place back in the side. And I think that's great for other squad players as well, because they know if they get a chance and they impress, they're not just going to drop out because it doesn't fit the old order. This is a very flexible side. Everybody gets a chance, and if they're good enough, they stay in the side.
Going to be hearing from TJ Ioma very shortly. In the meantime, let's hear from the manager, Michael Appleton. These are his pre-match thoughts.
Playing ever so well at the minute. They're on a fantastic run. They're a very, very good side. They have been for the last probably 3 or 4 seasons, even previous to sort of Darren going in there. And they've got a well-established core of about 5 or 6 players who have done really, really well for them. So we know it's going to be a tough task. It's going to be a very different game to Tuesday. It's going to be probably a little bit more expansive game. Both sides, want to play. Darren's Doncaster side a little bit more slower in their approach and possession base, where probably we want to be a little bit more on the front foot and attack more and get the ball forward into our wide players and strikers. So, listen, it's going to be a good game. It's going to be an exciting game, hopefully, and hopefully one that we can sort of come out on top on.
I was just looking at some of the stats for the season so far, and I think it's nearly 75% of your goals are scored in the second half. Is that a positive in the fact that you're finishing games strong, or do you look at it and go, we need to change something in the first half?
Well, I suppose we were sitting at the top of the league. I've got to look at it and go, it's probably a positive thing, but you're right. No, I think we can start games better, and I think some of our bigger performances of when we've started really, really well in the games and been on the front foot. Having said that, part of the process when we were putting the squad together at the start of the season clearly was to reduce the age, and the reasons being to have a lot more energy and athleticism in the group. And I think we've got that, and we're up there with the best in the division in terms of, youth, energy and athleticism. So that certainly helps in the latter part of the game.
Yeah, Michael Appleton speaking to BBC Radio Lincolnshire's Rob Makepeace there. Gary, I'll bring you back in and ask you what you made of it, what he made of his pre-match thoughts there. Love the answer where he said, look, all we have to do is look at the top of the league and we'd have to take it as a positive. It's certainly the case. But interesting to see those stats in terms of second half goals.
Yeah, I had to laugh when he said that. Look at the top of the league. That's a man who's comfortable and happy with the direction the club are taking, and rightly so. It's an interesting stat, that, because actually it wasn't something that I felt particularly out there, because obviously Burton we scored early, Northampton we scored early, Oxford we scored very early. We scored in the first half, I think, against Charlton. I might be wrong. So it didn't strike me that we were a second half team. What it struck me as is, depending on how the other team set up, we're able to either hit them early, because we did start very well in games over Christmas, or as the game goes on, we don't tire. We do still have the potential to score goals. So it's not a stat that's particularly struck me, if I'm honest.
Right, plenty more pre-match build-up throughout the show, speaking to a Doncaster Rovers fan later on in it as well. But in the meantime, delighted to say that the club's all-time leading goal scorer, Grant Brown, joins us now. Grant, lovely to see you. What a season we're having. I guess you're enjoying it from the comfort of your own home. I know you'd rather be at the LNER, but give us your thoughts on it so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish I'd been leading goal scorers, actually. That's not quite right, but...
did I say goal scorer?
Goal scorer, yeah.
Oh, you picked me up on it straight away, haven't you?
Yeah, I was going to.
Clearance holder, obviously.
Never known for my goal scoring talents. I know that. No, I think they've had a brilliant start to the season, above probably most people's expectations, but they deserve to be sitting top of the league and looking really, really strong. Watching from a distance, don't get to watch all the games. Get to see some of them and some of the highlight packages. Been really impressed with their style of play. I think they probably, because they've got better players in the team now, from previous seasons, they're getting the ball forward quicker because the players see the forward passes quicker. They're a threat. They've got pace. They can defend. There's goals throughout the team, and they've looked solid at the back for most of the season.
Grant, I promise you, I meant all-time appearance holder.
I'm not offended. I wish I was a leading goal scorer.
But we do have some of your goals to show.
Really?
You. Give us your memories of some of these.
Oh. Yeah, that was my favourite, I think. I remember that one at Chesterfield away. I think wasn't much celebrating going on because we were 2-0 down at the time, I think. This one, I enjoyed that one against Everton in the League Cup. Very poor goal celebration. Needed to work on them and all that. But yeah, that was an enjoyable goal to score. This one here, Tommy Torpork. I think, didn't score many of those. Yeah, that was a nice strike. I enjoyed that one.
Thunderous effort. They keep on coming.
Yeah. This one again. It's a striker's goal scoring talents now, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was nice. I'd say I'm not really renowned for my goal scoring. So when you do manage to get one, it's very nice.
You were part of a promotion campaign, Grant. Obviously, this could be one this season. Just give us your memories of it and what the boys need to do to try and get over the line this time around.
Ooh, memories of it. I mean, I'd missed the first part of the season through injury, and the boys had started the season really, really well. So it took me a while to get back into the team. I got back in like early Feb, mid Feb, and managed to stay for most of the time to the end of the season. Then, so the biggest thing that sticks out is the togetherness of the team and the group and the management. It was and the board as well. To be fair, we were all as one, all of the same aim, same goal, same drive, and same energy. A good leader, and John Becker first, and then Shane, and we just momentum was with us a bit. We sneaked in a little bit. We by the final promotion place, but just great memories of that that game against Brighton, and in the home game, winning it, and to get promotion was a fantastic achievement by the club.
You mentioned great leaders. Talking about Liam Bridcutt before, and just how good he's been this season when he's played. They've got a few now, haven't they? They've got likes of George Grant as well, who's clearly shown him to be a capable replacement when needed with the captain's armband as well. How important are those types of players when you're going for promotion?
Greatly so. I mean, if you're winning games and you're ahead in games, it's quite easy. Unless if you're 2 or 3 goals ahead, it's easy to be a leader. It's when you're winning 1-0 or losing 1-0 or losing 2-0 to be the leader, to keep the boys going, to keep the group going, keep digging in, and particularly when you're protecting the lead, to keep them driving and keep going forward and keep believing yourselves and hanging on to those. Not even hanging on, but just seeing games out. The leaders, the rest of the team look towards that leader, and if you've got more than one leader in the group, then it's all better. You just pull each other together and see them over the line for victory. There've been a lot of games where they've won by the odd goal this season, and it's just you see that togetherness and that drive and the leadership that sees them over the line in those games.
Plenty of brilliant comments coming in for Grant Brown there. Ian Hodson says, what a legend. Linda Nixon says, what a lovely man as well. Richard Godson used to love the way Chris Ashton called out Grant's name when reading out the team sheet before a game. Grant, I bet you wish you were still part of it now, don't you? Wish you were still playing, getting the boots on.
Yeah, but I look at them now. You look at the athleticism of the players, and and the way that the game's developed over the last few years, and it's fantastic the strides they've taken and the quality of the football that's being played at Lincoln now. I'm not sure whether that have been up to that standard, but it's everything. It's 30 years on since 20 odd years since I left the club, and you take it 20 years before I played there, and there's probably a big differences in the games then from the standard of play. But yeah, now I'd love to be a part of it. As a player, there's nothing beats playing football. There's nothing beats winning games. There's nothing beats the feeling, the atmosphere, the joy, the elation in the dressing room afterwards when you've got the 3 points, and then get ready to work again for the next game, because the way it is now, the games come thick and fast, even more so now. And it'd be nice to be a part of it, but my time's done there, so I can sit back and watch and enjoy them playing, scoring goals, and getting the 3 points, which has been doing very well so far this season. And quickly, I just have a quick mention on that. Just a quick mention about Linda Nixon there. She was a lovely, lovely lady that worked at the club for many, many years, and she's still a big Lincoln City fan, and my love to her and all the family.
Absolutely. Grant, just final point, massive game this afternoon. Myself and Gary Hutchinson have been enjoying all the build-up here on Matchday Live. We'll bring in live pictures from the LNER Stadium as well. Hopefully you can see those on the screen. What are your thoughts ahead of the match? It's going to be a tough one this afternoon, isn't it?
Very much. With 2 teams in great form. I think after the last 6 games, I think Lincoln have won 5 and drawn 1, and Doncaster have won 5 and lost 1. So it was a close game at Doncaster. We just got the wrong side of a 1-0 game. Hopefully we can get the 3 points today, but whatever they get today, whatever the game, they'll have to deserve, they'll have to earn it, because Doncaster are a good side.
Grant, been a pleasure having you on. Thanks very much indeed.
Cheers, Sam. Cheers, Gary.
Cheers, Grant.
I'm glad he pulled me up on that as well, like quite a few people have on Facebook. Thank you very much. A Freudian slip, of course. Grant Brown, Lincoln City's all-time leading appearance holder. Gary, great to hear from Grant as ever, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely great. I had the pleasure of talking to Grant ahead of our 100th podcast. Lovely man. I'd love to get him on the pod. We must get that arranged. But he did actually almost knock me out once when he was part of the coaching staff, and we went away, I think, to Kettering. And he booted a ball at the goal, and it missed the goal and hit me on the terracing, and I didn't see it coming. So I've been on the end of a Grant Brown hoof, and it's not nice.
I'm glad it was accidental, Gary, at least. I thought you were going to regale quite the story there.
I don't think Grant's got that sort of bone in his body. But seeing some of those goals as well, I mean, blimey, he hit a couple of those, didn't he? I missed a few of those in the flesh. Yeah, great player, Grant was.
Let's move back to today's matters then. I'll run you through today's starting 11 that Michael Appleton has named. He's made one change to the side that beat Portsmouth on Tuesday. It is Alex Palmer in goal, TJ Omer, Adam Jackson and Joe Walsh, the centre-back partnership once again, Teo Eden left-back, Liam Bridcut, the captain, Conor McGrandles alongside him and George Grant. Morgan Rogers, the goal-scoring hero from Tuesday night, comes back into the side. He's alongside Brennan Johnson and Tom Hopper, the number 9. Up front, Long, Melbourne, Monsma, Jones, Scully and Anderson. Gary, I want to ask you about Anthony Scully. He's been one of the players of the season, really, in terms of the second half of the campaign for the Imps. At least a little bit unlucky not to play today, but the games are coming thick and fast, aren't they?
They are. He's shown great application, certainly over the last probably 2 or 3 months, where he's been given his chance and he's taken it, but he's always been a goal threat from the opening day. I think probably we might have one eye. I think it's Hull City, isn't it, in the EFL Trophy this week, and Morgan Rogers can't play in that, remember. So there may be one eye on that as well. Games are coming thick and fast, so having a deep squad is very, very good. This time that clears up the confusion about Hull City last time. I was imagining the February the 2nd had already been arranged. So, lots of big games coming up, all packed in, Saturday, Tuesday. Some players are going to have a rest, but full well if Anthony Scully gets an opportunity to come on the field, he's going to be a goal threat. He will shoot from anywhere. He's very direct. So, again, it's just good from a squad point of view, I think, even if he might be feeling it a little bit being dropped today.
TJ Omer played a huge part in that winning goal against Portsmouth on Tuesday night, didn't he? These are his pre-match thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's testament to the whole team. I think we defended well as a team, and Palmer's goal has always done well.
Is that down to a lot of what the manager drills into you in the week in terms of how well you've defended?
I think so, yeah. I think our possession, we've been very good so far. And in training, we work hard on that, and obviously in position as well. So, hopefully we can keep it going.
You've had, obviously, Adam Jackson and Joe Walsh beside you at centre-half the last couple of games. How has that been?
Yeah, it's been good. Whoever comes in, I think, have done a good job. I think they've been solid, especially against Portsmouth. I thought they were very aggressive, and hopefully they keep going.
And as a player, you're coming up now. You had a run of games, obviously, Portsmouth on Tuesday. You've got a big game against Doncaster this Saturday, a game against Hull coming up as well, who are near the top of the table. That must be exciting as a player, isn't it, to come up against the best in the league?
Yeah, definitely. That's where you want to stamp your authority. That's the big game. So hopefully, when we play them tomorrow and Hull on Tuesday, hopefully we can stamp our authority and do well and pick up the points.
Well, that's it, isn't it, Gary? TJ seems to be thriving on these big games. He's obviously got some serious pedigree. Been used to playing around some top players at the Spurs Academy as well, who of course train with the first team, or certainly train at the same base at the training ground there. So this is a player that enjoys the big matches.
Yeah, absolutely. Captain their under-23 side. And I love the way he said there, the games you want to stamp your authority, because what that suggests is that they know we have authority to stamp. We're not going into these big games thinking, it's Hull City, they're a big club, or it's Peterborough United or Portsmouth. And I think that was probably something that earlier in the season, certainly against Sunderland and Pompey at our place, there was a little bit of respect given to them. I don't think that's the case now. We're 23 games in, we're top of the league. We are genuine challengers. I've noticed a question in the comments from Daniel Lambert, can we win this league? Yes, we can. And we can win it because of the attitude of the likes of TJ Ioma, who believes we can win it. He's good enough to go on and end up playing regular Championship football, may end up playing for Spurs' first team. He's a very, very good player. He's here. He knows how good we are, and they're willing to show that in the big games.
Let me bring you the Doncaster Rovers starting 11 in, then. It is Ellery Balcombe in goal. Brad Halliday is the right back. Reece James, not the one who plays for Chelsea, obviously. Tom Anderson's the captain. Joe Wright. Fajiri Okunabire as well. Matt Smith, Taylor Richards, Andy Butler, Elliot Simiz, and Cameron John as well. And with that, I will bring in a Doncaster Rovers fan. Dean joins us. Dean, lovely to see you. I know you've been in with the 617, which I'm going to come on to very shortly. But first of all, your reaction to the Doncaster, I should say, team news this afternoon.
Yeah, it's pretty much what we expected, really. I think it's been the same team now for a couple of weeks. Although you can never really work out which position players are going to play, because especially Reece James, I think he's played everywhere this season apart from goalkeeper. But yeah, I think Halliday might move a bit further forward and play a bit further up the pitch on the right wing. And Taylor Richards in that attacking midfield role, he's the danger man for us today, definitely.
You're bang in form, Dean. Doncaster playing some brilliant football as well. As a fan, what are you making of it? I imagine you're pretty pleased.
Yeah, it's been great to watch. We've been in this league a couple of seasons now, and a lot of people have been expecting us to make that step up and go for the playoffs, which I think if we'd have definitely been in there, if the season continued last season, we'd have been in there. But this season, I think we've got a real chance of either making the playoffs or even those automatic places.
Hi, Dean. Obviously done an awful lot of business this week. I'm really interested in where you see Omar Bogle fitting in and how the fans reacted to that capture this week.
The fans were over the moon, which I was as well. He's got a great pedigree in League Two and in non-league. And I think he's struggled a bit over the last couple of seasons at Cardiff and at Wigan. And I know he's been out on loan a fair bit. But I think, he needs to get back playing his best. And I think Darren Moore can really get him back to his best. I think, we may still stick with that one up front with Okunabiri. However, we've got a lot of games coming up over the next couple of weeks, so it's going to be swapping and changing. And I think Bogle just gives us that bit of height up front and that different dimension to our game.
Dean, you're obviously watching the game from home this afternoon, but you've been to the LNER Stadium, and a certain Alan Long tells me that you've been in with the 617 squadron as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I also made the mistake of going in there in my Rovers shirt. It's a brilliant atmosphere. It was absolutely great. I don't think I sat down for the entire 90 minutes that I was in there. I've been in there twice now. I think the first one was against Grimsby, and I think that was that the 5-0 game, and then also against Tranmere the other couple of seasons ago when you guys got promoted. And the atmosphere was absolutely fantastic. It was an interesting place, especially in my Rovers shirt.
Absolutely. Thoughts ahead of today's game then, from a Lincoln City perspective? What have you made of what you've seen of the Imps so far? Of course, you guys got the victory a few months ago, but we're going great guns as well.
Yeah, definitely. You guys are top of the league, and there's a reason why you're there. It's going to be a tough game. If you'd offered me a point now, I would snap your hand off. It's going to be a tough game. We had the home advantage last time, and we managed to scrape the 1-0 draw. But today, like I said, you guys are on a bit of a run. So are we. So I think it's got a draw written all over it.
Just finally then, Dean, you're a supporter liaison officer at Doncaster. Of course, we've got the likes of the legendary Alan Long and, of course, Heidi as well, play a huge part here at the LNER Stadium, as well as some of the other guys as well. You more than anyone must be just desperate to have the fans back at some stage.
Yeah, definitely. Especially, with my connection with Alan and the guys down there. It was the first game that I looked for on the fixture list this season was when we were playing at your place, and I just wish I was there. I wish all the Rovers fans were there. We'd have definitely sold out the away end, and it'd have been a cracking atmosphere. But unfortunately, it can't happen. Let's just hope it's a championship fixture next season.
Yeah, fingers crossed indeed. Dean, really appreciate having you on today's Matchday Live. Enjoy the game. And hopefully we get the win, but hopefully you enjoy the game.
Take care.
Great to have the thoughts of the Doncaster Rovers supporter liaison officer Dean Medcalf on the show. Gary, I'll bring you back in then. Obviously, we're now getting to the point, aren't we, where we're almost expectant of away supporters to be pretty complimentary about the Imps, and he's another one that has been.
Yeah, again, it's hard not to be. It would be a very bitter away supporter who looks at Lincoln after 23 games and goes there by accident. Bristol Rovers did very well last season to get in and around the playoffs, faded quite badly. I don't see that happening with where we are on merit. Football fans, genuine football fans, appreciate good football, understand good teams, and results like winning away at Portsmouth 1-0, they make statements and people sit up and pay attention. Doncaster, and there's very few differences really between us and Doncaster. Managers come from the same sort of background, they play the same sort of football. We're aiming for the same sort of level, and arguably we're similar sorts of clubs who would draw the same crowds as well. So there's a mutual respect, I think. I respect what Doncaster have done, and I will stop that respect at 3:00 and resume it at 5.
Teams warming up at the LNER Stadium. You may well be able to see there Michael Appleton and David Kerslake putting the Imps through their paces in front of the Serenity stand there. Of course, kick-off around about 35 minutes away. Asked some of you for your score predictions. A few of you sent them to me. The first one is Lincoln City fan Steve Haynes.
Yes, boys, what a result the other night. Absolutely fantastic. And to see all the Pompey fans crying about that definite red card was just hilarious. Fantastic effort by the lads, and such a great shame that we weren't there. Another big game to focus the mind on Saturday, and I reckon the mighty Imps are going to pull it out of the bag again. Going for a solid 2-0 victory. Mr. Johnson to get on the score sheet, and backed up by Tom Hopper this week. Legends, absolutely fantastic. Stay safe, everybody. Let's get the cold ones in the tin to celebrate another famous victory. Go on the squadron, lads.
This is Cordell Brewman giving my score prediction for today's game for Lincoln City versus Doncaster Rovers, and the score is going to be 1-0 to the Mighty Imps. The first goal scorer will be Brennan Johnson, and we will still be top of the table. We fear nothing this season. I'm so proud of the Imps this season, of how well we've and where we've got to, how well we've done and how well we've got to. Never give up in the Imps. Believe in us, Imps. We can win this. Come on, you Imps.
Well, my prediction for today's game is it's going to be a very close game. There won't be much in it, but I'm saying 2-1 win for the Imps. So don't forget, make some noise for the boys.
Absolutely. I should say a big happy birthday to Cornell as well. And a few of you watching may have spotted that, yes, it is my birthday as well. Thank you all for your well wishes. Much, much appreciated. Busy day. Certainly 3 points is what I'd take as my main present this afternoon. No doubt about that. Gary, got about 3 or 4 minutes left of the show. If we have a look at some of the other League One fixtures, it's another massive afternoon, isn't it? I will start with Hull hosting Swindon this afternoon. Of course, Hull looking to bounce back.
Yeah, and I think they will do. Oddly, my postman is a Swindon fan, and he says they are utterly awful at the moment. They lack direction. I think Hull bouncing back from that defeat against Accrington, which really did upset the form books a little bit, and they'll be looking to get back into winning ways, and I firmly believe that that's a home win.
Yeah, and if we look at Peterborough away at Shrewsbury, we mentioned it before on Matchday Live, but this is the period, isn't it, where Peterborough really sort of kick into gear, if you like.
It is. Peterborough kind of going fits and starts in that they'll have a great run of form. They'll look like they're going to storm the league, and then when their confidence gets knocked, they fall away. And I feel that a little bit with Portsmouth as well, whose game I think has been called off today. That those teams that expect to be in the top two, if they get a draw, an awkward draw that they should have won, or they get defeat and they feel they were robbed a little bit, it can play on the players' minds because the expectation is large. And I just wonder if Peterborough might drop points today. Shrewsbury, a really tough place to go. Steve Cottrell's got them playing not nice football, let's be honest, but he's got them playing organised, structured football. They're very, very hard to beat. And I just think Peterborough in recent weeks have they've lacked that spark a little bit. Obviously, they struggled against Bristol Rovers in midweek.
For those of you who are just joining, and I know, judging by the comments, a few of you are only just getting to Matchday Live now, the Imps announcing around about 1:45 this afternoon the permanent signing of Regan Poole from MK Dons. And judging by the reaction in the comments, everyone is absolutely over the moon. It's a player with some serious pedigree, a former Manchester United academy graduate, no less. Welsh under-21 international, has played alongside the likes of Brennan Johnson, Joe Morrell as well, amongst others. And Gary, just before we wrap up today's show, it's just brilliant news, isn't it?
It is brilliant news. While we've been on air, I've had a message from Jonathan Harris, an MK Dons fan I know, who said we didn't really want to lose him. He was finding it hard to define a role within the MK Dons team, but every time he played, he was very good, exciting young talent. And for us to go and cherry pick players that we want from League One rivals is I think a big bonus for the club. So it's an exciting signing. Let's bear in mind when you join in mid-season, it's always tough to hit the ground running as well. So I think bringing them in now is probably a really good move in the context of next season, wherever we may be.
Gary, you're on absolute fire with the score predictions at the moment. So give us your one ahead of today's game.
Well, I cheated last week because I didn't think that we'd actually win, but I said it so that it happened. So I'm going to do the same again today. I think it's going to be a really, really close game. I am going to go for 2-1 Lincoln City.
There you go. The Oracle has spoken. You've heard it there first. 2-1 to the Imps. Like it. Gary Hutchinson, much appreciated as ever.
Thank you, Sam. Happy birthday, mate.
Thank you. He just managed to get one in just before he was cut off, didn't he? Thank you very much, Gary. Really appreciated all your comments, questions, and you watching Matchday Live this afternoon. Of course, you can get your Matchday pass by going to www.weareimps.com/ifollow. Half an hour to go until that big game. Fingers crossed the Imps can extend their lead at the top of the League One table. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.